We spend so much of our time and energy looking for threats on the outside, don't we? We're always worrying about the economy or our boss or what we see on the news. We're constantly on guard, thinking that's where all the danger to our happiness is coming from.
But let's just pause for a second. I want you to really honestly think about this. When things start to go sideways, when you feel that knot of anxiety in your stomach, what's the real source of that feeling? Is it actually what's happening outside of you? Because what if the biggest, most effective saboteur in your entire life isn't out there at all? What if it's right there with you all the time? What if it's inside your own head? That's what we're talking about today. The real enemy is our own untrained mind.
And this enemy within actually has a name. We're going to call it the internal enemy. And trust me, just understanding this one concept is the absolute first step to taking back the controls of your own life. So, what is this enemy? Well, it's not bad luck, and it's not other people working against you. No, it's that voice in your head, that part of your mind that is constantly digging up old pain and then projecting these terrifying what-if movies into your future. And in the process, it completely hijacks your ability to live in the present.
Now this internal enemy, it's sneaky. It doesn't fight fair at all. It uses two incredibly powerful and kind of innocent-looking tools against you. Let's break down its weapons.
It's a two-pronged attack, right? On one side, you've got memory, but I don't want you to think of it like a nice photo album. It's more like a forensic database specifically designed to store every single failure, every trauma, every piece of evidence that says you might not be good enough. Then, on the other side, you have imagination, and it acts like a movie projector. It takes all that negative data from the database and creates this blockbuster disaster film about your future, playing it on a loop 24/7 right inside your mind.
Let me give you a real-world example of how this works. Picture a super successful IT professional, okay? On paper, by every metric, he's killing it. But on the inside, he's a complete wreck. He lives with this constant, irrational fear that he's about to be fired. It makes zero logical sense. So what was the root cause? Well, deep inside his memory database, there was this old file he'd forgotten about, the trauma of watching his father's business go bankrupt when he was just a kid. His imagination took that old data, that old pain, and projected it right onto his own life, convincing him that his own failure wasn't just possible, it was coming for him. So how in the world do you fight back against a system like that? A system that's running inside your own head? If logic doesn't work, what does? Well, the answer is you have to actively reprogram the mind. And the first tool we're going to look at is deceptively simple. It's gratitude.
And I know what you might be thinking. Gratitude? Really? That's it? But hang on, this isn't about fluffy self-help cliches. This is about mechanics. It's about how your brain is wired. And here's the key. You literally cannot feel deep, genuine appreciation and deep, paralyzing fear at the exact same moment. It's like they're on different frequencies. Your brain can't tune into both at once. So gratitude becomes this incredibly practical tool that forces your mind to scan for what's going right, to look for safety and success instead of its default setting, which is to constantly scan for danger.
So here's how you put this into practice. We'll call it the searchlight exercise. Every single night before you go to sleep, you get a pen and paper. Your mission is to find 5 positive things, and they can be tiny, that happen during your day. You write them down, and here is the most important part. For each one, you have to actually focus on the feeling of appreciation. You're training the searchlight of your mind to find the good stuff. Remember this, you can't fight a bad feeling with logic. You have to replace it with a better feeling.
Okay, so once you start reprogramming your mind with that exercise, you can actually move to a much more advanced level. This next idea, it's about fundamentally changing your whole perception of reality, even when the stakes are ridiculously high.
Let's jump into another story, and this one is way more intense. There's a guy, he gets laid off right in the middle of the pandemic. He's in the US on a work visa, which means he has exactly 60 days to find a new job, or he and his entire family get deported. And the job market? Totally frozen. The pressure is just unimaginable. I mean, the internal enemy should be having a field day with this, right? But this guy, he did something pretty remarkable. He just refused to buy into the fear. His whole mindset here is fascinating. He put in maximum effort, right? He was applying, he was interviewing, but he emotionally surrendered the outcome. He refused to let the fear of deportation control his inner world. He just maintained this unwavering faith that it would work out. So, day 30 rolls around. Nothing. Day 50. Still nothing. The clock is ticking down. And then on day 55, with just 5 days left, he gets rehired. And get this, it wasn't just any job. It was a better project with a higher salary.
So what happened there? That story is a perfect illustration of two different ways to see the world. Most of us live in what you could call third-dimension reality. It's the physical world of logic and what our senses tell us. We see a bad economy, and our logical brain says, well, I can't get a job. We become a prisoner of our circumstances. But this man, he tapped into something else, a fourth-dimension reality, a reality that's based on faith and feeling. He generated the feeling of security before he had any evidence for it. He wasn't just reacting to his world, he was creating it from the inside out.
And all of this brings us to the final, and maybe the most powerful distinction of all. It ties everything we've talked about together. And it's the critical difference between pain and suffering.
I want you to just let that sink in for a moment. Read it again. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. That one sentence, it can change everything.
So what is the difference? I mean, they sound pretty similar, right? Well, pain is the raw, objective event. You lose your job. That's a real thing. It hurts. That's pain. But suffering is the negative story your mind creates about the pain. It's that inner voice that says, I'm a failure. This always happens to me. I am never going to recover from this. That is the internal enemy at work, and that part is completely optional.
The key to getting rid of suffering is to completely reframe the pain. Instead of seeing a difficulty as some kind of punishment, you can choose to see it as a tool for growth. Think of it like a spiritual promotion. It's a challenge designed to make you stronger. When you really start to view life's challenges that way, you stop suffering and you start growing.
So if any of this is resonating with you, the very first step you can take right now is actually really simple, but that doesn't mean it's easy. You just have to become the watcher of your own thoughts. Start to notice when your mind starts digging through that old memory database or firing up that disaster movie projector. Just observe it happening without judging it. Because remember, the event itself is just the pain. The story you attach to it, that's the suffering. And you have a choice about that story.
And that really leaves us with one last question to carry with us. As you go about your day, just pay attention to your thoughts and your feelings and ask yourself this: who's really in the driver's seat of my life? Is it me, right here in the present moment? Or is it the ghost of my memory,